like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. This business meeting is being held both in person and virtually through Zoom in compliance with the RSU38 board policy BED, remote participation in school board meetings. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the maranacook.org YouTube channel. Please be aware that during the course of this meeting, the microphones of the viewing audience will be muted except for during the identified portions of the public comments at this meeting. For today's agenda, that's item number 5. If you would like to speak during this agenda item, please use the chat feature to signal Mrs. Diane Greger and she will communicate with me. In-person speakers, please sign up on the clipboard down at the table by the door. All individuals that wish to speak, whether in person or virtual, please identify yourself with first and last name and the town you live in. Please note that individuals that do not live in our member communities may or may not be granted permission to speak at my discretion. We also ask that speakers limit their individual comments to 2 minutes, and if someone speaks ahead of you that has similar views, please reference their comment. We thank you in advance for constructive comments, and we also thank you for all wearing a mask.
So just because it is, we're kind of going back to the old way, just a reminder, attendance and all votes will be done through roll call. So board members, when your name is called, please cast your vote with the 3 available options of yes, approve, no, disapprove, or abstain. We're going to start with a roll call before the meeting, as the meeting begins. Kim Bowie, I just saw you.
Remind me, do I have to turn this thing on? Yes, I'm here.
It's already
It's
on.
It's on. Okay. I'm here, clearly.
Dave Gilnay.
Here.
Jade Parker.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jade, when you want to speak as a board member, let Diane McGregor know and she will unmute you, okay?
Okay, I've had the ability to do so. I don't know if I shouldn't have that ability.
Okay. Dane Wing, I think I saw him.
Here.
There he is. Tyler Dunn.
Here.
Kathy Jacobs. Here. Melissa Tobin. Okay. Patty Gordon.
Here.
Rebecca Lambert.
Here.
Betty Morrow.
Here.
Sean Roger. Not here yet. He's coming in. Kelty Bowden.
Here.
There she is. And David Twitchell. Here. Thank you.
Would you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So before we get into our agenda, board members, in your packet, you have an orange sheet that has our norms on it. So I'd like to have somebody observe our process tonight and see how we do with our norms. So is there anybody that would like to volunteer? Would volunteer? Okay, great. Thank you, Patty. So just to keep in mind, this is what we all agreed to. We want to make sure that we're sticking to those norms tonight. So thank you. And Patty, don't let me forget to ask you at the end how we did, because I think I forgot the last meeting. Okay, so let's move on to our student representatives. So do we want to start with middle school or high school? That's up to you guys to decide.
Middle school jumped in.
Looks like middle school was ready.
Hello, I'm Carter Bennett. So first I'm going to be reporting for Katahdin because their current representative is at a basketball game right now. So in Mysterious DNA, they started the trimester with a class discussion about what the students knew or thought they knew about the subject. It was really interesting how much they already knew based on the things they had seen on TV, especially with the use of DNA analysis in solving crimes and discovering your ancestry. They also watched a detective movie on Monday after break where they had to answer questions throughout the movie, and they needed to use their investigative skills to help them solve the mystery. On Acadia, book group started this week. Our focus is on literary elements while exploring healthy and unhealthy relationships as depicted in novels. ELA classes just finished reading A Christmas Carol before break and visited the Dickens enthusiast Tom Fred. Students learned that things like about Dickens, like that he coined the phrase "dead as a doornail," that he burned much of his personal property to avoid being taken advantage of, and that also he based his characters on people in real life, like Jacob Marley, the ghost in A Christmas Carol, was based on a waiter in a restaurant that he would frequently visit. Mr. Holman's core classes, have been focused on physical and mental health. Classes have included a trip outside to learn about ice safety and winter survival skills, as well as focusing on the science of happiness, gratefulness, and genetics. Math classes continue to work with functions in various forms. Grade 8 has been doing geometry. Grade 7, the 7th grade has been doing multiplying fractions, and so is 6th grade. On Sebago, they're mainly learning about genetics using Sesame Street monsters for understanding. Literacy-wise, they're starting their book groups and moving on to the informational unit. They are for writing. They are starting new hands-on projects and are designing things like tech decks, which are mini skateboards that you push around with your finger, coasters, and other kinds of wood burning.
Thank you, Carter.
Hello, I am Joseph from Royal River, here to report about the rest of the middle school's teams and whatnot. For Moose Island, they are working for the first 2 weeks of 2022 to prepare and present 3 mock trials. We are learning about the justice system, how the justice system works, and how jury works. And we are using these to craft argument writing. Students are working on their first learning reflections, which allow them to demonstrate their learning in whatever way makes the most sense to them and the learning that is happening in core classes. We are finishing up our first round of book club books, and we'll be beginning to plan our final projects for our books. For Royal, for the 8th grade math, we have finished our unit on discovering and applying the Pythagorean theorem, and we're now heading back into the realm of functions with particular attention to linear functions. In Writer Core, we've been talking about Newton's first law, the law of inertia, and we'll be heading into Newton's second law about force. In reading, we have been working on themes and how authors develop themes over a course of a piece of fiction. Students have just completed their reading essays on a theme of their free choice reading book. In 7th grade math, we wrapped up solving equations with variables and took the first part of the unit assessment. In Tracy's core, we've been talking about persuasive writing and arguments. As a class, we looked through articles pointing out any evidence proving the claims and themes, and pointing out any points in the articles that doesn't need to be part of the argument. In Mr. Morazic's core, we've been talking about how stories use the hero's journey and as well as how movies use it. In 6th grade, they've been talking about fractions and decimals by talking and by comparing it to miles driven in hours. And for school-wide and student government, we held the door decoration competition and the ugly sweater competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Does anyone have any questions for the middle school representative from the board? I just have one question, Carter, and I'm not sure if you can answer it or not. I was interested in what you were saying about Sebago and the projects that they were working on. And I'm wondering if they're using the tech ed room downstairs for any of their projects.
Yes.
So they are using that room. Great. Thank you. You could answer it. That was awesome. Thank you both.
Hi, I'm Abigail Allen. I'm a sophomore, and I'm going to be talking about Student Senate and Council. So in Student Senate, all of our committees are working on different projects. Student Voice is planning our Eurosphere dance. It's a dance full of neon colors, glitter, and it has a lot of 80s inspiration. We have gathered our chaperones, we filled out all of the forms we need to, and we've begun gathering decorations and all those other little details. In outreach, they have picked a new project. It's the clothing drive. It's a boutique at the high school that was requested specifically clothing of larger sizes and masks. They've also been preparing the annual incarnation sale. In Suscom's Sustainability Committee has continued to work on their mural. In Health Center, the Health Center Committee is beginning a new project to be held around Valentine's Day. This project is going to inform students on consent and healthy relationships, which would more than likely be intertwined with their usual Love Is project. The Love Is project is a project that allows students to display on paper hearts in the halls of what love means to them. School Spirit is currently deciding when would be the best time to hold our annual winter carnival that we do every year, and they're planning theme days and other activities for the week of the carnival as well. There wasn't much going on in council that was new. There was more discussion of the new tag schedule that the high school has added back in, which is basically an opportunity for students to meet one-on-one with their teachers within school hours.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm a junior. I'm going to talk a little bit about just like some extra stuff and co-curricular, sorry. So at the high school, we're also beginning to wrap up our first semester of the year. So grades close later this month, and we had our final grade check of the semester today. This only affects students' privileges and eligibility for any co-curricular activities. And then for some sports, our basketball team played Coney last night. Varsity boys lost by only 3 points last night, and their JV team also lost. The girls basketball also lost both of their games last night. So far this season, our varsity girls have a 2-3 win to loss ratio, and the boys have a 3-4 record. So our alpine ski team had a race at Saddleback Mountain today. We don't really have results yet. And our Nordic ski team hasn't had a race yet, but they're practicing every day pretty hard. Varsity hockey also has a game tonight at Camden Hills, and they have a 0-3 win-loss record. And our theater program has started practicing for their musical, The Little Mermaid. That's it.
Does anyone from the board have any questions for these two young ladies?
I had a question for Ms. Allen. You discussed the new schedule at the high school, I think, at the council. Was there generally positive feedback on that, or were there problems with it?
As a whole, students are kind of, there's both mixed opinions about it because they are entering it in a very random time in the school year, especially with, also COVID going on. People are not really sure about the mixed lunches because with the tag schedule, now underclassmen are eating lunches with upperclassmen where we haven't done that in years now. So there's been very mixed emotions about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. You four are welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting if you'd like, but if you don't want to, feel free to leave now or stay. It's up to you. You know you want to stay for this meeting. So the next thing on our agenda is a presentation of the math program from Abby Shank. So while we're waiting for Abby to get ready, I just want to explain to the board that this is strictly an informational meeting so that we can find out where they're at with the programming that supports our curriculum. The board does not approve programs. We just approve curriculum, and the program that she's going to be talking about supports our curriculum. So this is really just an informational presentation. So if you have questions, make sure you ask.
Thanks, Kathy. So good evening. My name is Abby Schenk. I'm the K-12 math coordinator here at Marina-Cook Area Schools. And I'm here tonight to share some of the work from the pre-K to 5 math subject area committee in regards to math programming. Go ahead. So as you may know, this committee, along with elementary teachers and principals, have been working for the past 2.5 years to research, pilot, and develop a recommendation for adoption of math programming. This is following many years of teacher work to develop curriculum maps with a selection of tasks and assessments that were meant to support teaching the main learning results. The maps were challenging to use, especially with the teacher turnover that we've seen in recent years. And in an effort to meet teacher requests for more comprehensive programming and address waning student achievement in mathematics, the decision was made to explore a published program. The district decided to pilot early versions of the IM K-5 programming in fall of 2019, being authored by Illustrative Mathematics as it aligned with the resources that we had previously used. A committee was formed to review math programming in our district, engaging in a rigorous process to evaluate different instructional resources, including Bridges to Mathematics, which we are currently piloting in kindergarten, and IM K-5. This process carefully examined alignment to the main learning results, coherence, and rigor. And today I'm here to share our programming adoption plan based on this process. So why are instructional materials so important now more than ever? There's a great deal of research that shows evidence-based instructional materials make a big difference in regards to student achievement and instructional consistency. One study showed that using a top-ranked program ranked by an organization like EdReports in 4th or 5th grade math can lead to student achievement gains of 3.6 percentile points, a larger impact than that of teacher improvement over their first 3 years of teaching in the classroom. We also know that when teachers don't have access to great materials, they hunt for them online, often leading to 7 to 12 hours per week of searching and crafting instructional resources, both free and paid, and they end up drawing from a variety of sources, many of them unvetted. The result is a mishmash of activities that lack focus and coherence. Having access to high quality aligned instructional materials makes a difference for students. Now more than ever, we need to support teachers in carrying on grade level assignments with quality instruction and opportunities for deeper student engagement. So since 2019, a committee made up of teachers, a principal, math coach, and school board committee member have met to evaluate math programming with an end goal of planning for adoption of high quality math instructional resources in grades K through 5. This committee has evaluated in-depth multiple published programs using a standardized tool called the IMET, or Instructional Materials Evaluation Tool. We've collected teacher feedback through surveys, grade level conversations, and staff meetings throughout the process and analyzed student achievement data. This has been a challenge throughout the past 2 years, but the teachers doing the work have remained committed. Specifically, some of the challenges we faced through this process have included teacher turnover. We've had 44% of our staff that were teaching math at the beginning of the IM K-5 pilot in 2019 either change grade levels, leave the classroom for another type of position, or leave the district entirely, which means that it's been difficult to get a high level of implementation with a majority of our staff as we're constantly training new staff or staff are getting to know a new grade level. We've had inconsistent assessment data. Following a cohort of students is problematic as the test changes from grades 2 to 3 and programming changes from grades 5 to 6. We've also had inconsistencies in the state mandated testing. Our biggest impediment has been the disruption to learning due to the pandemic. So between the spring of 2020, changes to the school year calendar last year, the days of time in school last year, and then continued disruption this year. So these challenges aside, we've moved forward with our work to adopt high quality instructional resources in K through 5. So this year, our kindergarten teachers have been piloting and learning more about bridges in mathematics, one of the committee's top 2 picks for math instructional programs. Teachers have found this program to be very user-friendly once they became familiar with all of the parts. And the pilot has gone very well. The program includes daily lesson plans with problems and investigations for the class to engage in, workplaces for students to participate in with partner or small groups while the teacher confers with students, multiple opportunities for assessment, and a daily routine called Number Corner that supports the development of early numeracy skills. The programming materials also include family engagement resources, intervention resources, both built into daily lessons and provided as separate modules for use by math specialists, and resources for use by coaches, math specialists, or teacher leaders to support implementation. I'll give you a minute to read this quote from one of our kindergarten teachers collected in a recent survey. As you can see, we've had some very positive feedback. Slide. Our grades K through 5 and now 1 through 5 teachers have been using early versions of IM K5 since 2019. It's been rocky at times for all the reasons that I mentioned before, but it's had a positive impact on our students' math achievement as measured by the NUIA. And teachers are getting better at implementing it every year. This year, we were implementing the completed version 1 in grades 1 through 5. Daily lesson plans provide thinking routines, rich tasks, guidance for teachers to support rich discussion, supports for students with disabilities, opportunities for extension, and anticipated student responses. There are differentiated centers provided for practice at every grade level, as well as practice problems in every unit. Multiple types of assessment opportunities are provided at every grade level. There are also family letters provided to support communication with families and professional development available through contracted partners. One of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten about this program is that the teacher materials can be challenging to navigate and the student-facing materials are not always student-friendly. The committee is recommending a shift away from partnering with Kendall Hunt, as we've done for the past 2 years, and partnering with LearnZillion, which we anticipate improving teacher usability and the quality of the student materials. Give you a moment to read that quote. It's really far away. I'll read it for you. It says, "I think IM meets the needs of our district as well as any other program could. All programs have strengths and weaknesses, and teachers always need to provide supplemental materials to meet the needs of their students. It does not make sense to regularly switch programs. Switching programs means more work for teachers, both during initial implementation and during weekly lesson planning. Let teachers learn one thing and learn it well. Teachers will make the necessary adaptations and get used to what they need to provide. A rotating door of programs is frustrating and wasteful." So all of that being said, and based on the 2 years of work that this committee's put in and the experience we've had with both of these high quality standards aligned instructional resources for teaching math. We will be adopting Bridges in Mathematics, including Number Corner in grades K through 2, and adopting IM K5 in grades 3 through 4, starting in fall of 2022. This allows for the least amount of transition for as many teachers and students as possible, while also responding to a great deal of feedback regarding the usability of IM at the grade K2 level. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Abby, I just think it's important. I don't know if you said this or not. I couldn't quite hear you, but that we also decided that this is going to be a 5-year commitment. So we are going to commit to this programming for 5 years and be somewhat flexible. I mean, if after 2 or 3 years we're seeing that it's not really working, then we will look at it again. But it is going to be a commitment so that teachers know that this is what they're going to be doing. They won't have to worry about changing programs, learning something new. So we've committed to that for 5 years.
Yeah, so one of the things that we know about program implementation is that it really takes 3 to 5 years to make an impact on student achievement anyway. So it's important to make a commitment. However, the SAT committee is committed to continually watching to see that it's making the impact that we want. So it's not that, you know, after 3 or 4 years that we couldn't make a change if we absolutely needed to, but the intention is to try to make a 5-year commitment.
Any questions? And this was presented to the curriculum committee at our last meeting as well, and very well received. So thank you very much, Abby, for all of your work and for the SAT committee for all the work that they've put in, because I know it's been a tremendous amount of work. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any citizen comments? Are there any on the chart on the sign up? Thank you, Janet. Diane, do we have any from the Zoom audience?
Thank
No?
you.
We do have a couple on the sign up sheet. So Ben Sechrist, you're on.
Good evening. I'm Ben Sechrist of Manchester. I've got 3 successful graduates from Maranacook in 2015, 16, 21, and currently working on 2025. Okay, so anyway, I've been involved in various levels, and I hope this is appropriate to bring it up because it's not about the topic tonight. Is that okay? It's just a thing I wanted to introduce a conversation. Okay, so thank you for hearing me. All I want to do is kind of introduce a conversation for possibly further consideration. One of the things for my first 2 kids, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of a backseat participator in the fundraising and whatnot. Other people did it. And then I kind of understood what they were going through, and I really jumped into it with my daughter, Kate, in the class of 2021. And I was actually one of the lead parents for that group, okay, and got to experience it, and also walked into a willing group that was willing to go through it and had some people that had gone through before. Julie Rogers in particular kind of changed the dynamics of how this happened to try to get it done, so it wasn't a big rush at the end of the senior year to raise the funds. Okay, so that was kind of the way it went. And anyway, one of the interesting things, even Julie and whatnot at that point could not really tell you what the budget really was, what you were going to spend. So it's kind of like raise the money, and then it got spent, and it was spent with good intention, by the way. I'm not trying to, this is kind of an observation, but it was interesting to me that you were going to fundraise for something where you had a target, which was supposed to be 15 grand, and that was the cap. But then that cap, some people literally raised over 20 grand, okay? So you kind of look around in the abyss of the fundraising we have throughout the school district, okay? What happens is there's kind of and I know this has been a topic before, kind of a burnout, if you will. I mean, it's a constant, okay? And anyway, what ended up happening was we successfully raised the money, our 15 grand, and it's almost like it got momentum. It carried on. We got almost 16 when it was over because of various things. Anyway, we successfully completed it. However, there was a group, and Tina Brackley, thank goodness, was, you know, kind of a willing participant and was very helpful to try to turn that around, to try to structure the go forward of what this, you know, senior class celebration might look like, and the fundraising and whatnot. Because to be honest with you, you know, the original intent, it was all under the throes of project graduation, was the whole fundraising. And people would ask me, what's this for? What are you really doing with it? I didn't know, okay, until about midway through the first year. And we kind of put it together, and it includes things like caps and gowns and various other things. So it's not, the whole thing really was kind of put under the project graduation. But the point is that with Tina and whatnot, we decided, let's really look at this and try to put a formal budget together and see what kind of a cap could be put on it. The last year with the COVID and whatnot, things kind of changed. They did the prom at the school, they did the celebration at the end, and the kids, my kid anyway, and her friend, we talked about it again tonight, enjoyed it. I mean, perhaps they were just happy that anything happened. I don't know. Okay, but the long and short of it was, so the kids involved, they were happy with it. So anyway, the point is that Tina was very instrumental in kind of setting up a framework, but I don't know if it's ever been formalized. So there's two reasons I'm here. Number one is to kind of, in the conversation we had as a group, it always kind of came back to the school board to see what their interest would be to help formalize this thing, you know, and the superintendent. Okay, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to come in because at this point with class 2021, we'd already raised over $1,500 in the freshman year. Okay, I'm in to the same point in time with the class of 2025. We can't even launch the thing. Okay, I mean, it's various things that have come up. We finally got the permission to email the parents and whatnot. But I'll tell you, it's a different world. One of the things that's happened as well is we've got approximately $25,000 to $30,000 a year for a platform to raise money, which was the basketball tournaments that happened in the schools. That's gone. And the thing you need to bear in mind is primarily that money came in from outside of our community. So that's a vacuum. That was used by virtually every sports team and every class, had the opportunity anyway, and all the groups to do that. That was in jeopardy of being lost before the pandemic. And now my personal feeling is because of the way the structure is, if it ever comes back, it's not going to be the same, okay? Because there was a resistance to the moneymaker. I mean, when they did it, literally you'd make between an average of $800. There was anywhere from $500 to $1,500 that was made on every one of those tournaments, okay?
So Ben, can I just stop you for a minute and ask you to just be a little bit clear, precise about what you're asking the board?
Okay, so what I'm asking you for is that's gone, just to understand that. And we got a problem, which is it's been reduced. I'm asking the board to consider being involved to formalize what Tina helped start, which is this cap, which is $10,000 to raise, okay? And a budget that goes along with it. That's the budget you got to spend, okay? It kind of ties in hand in hand. So that's number one. Number two would quite frankly be if again, how to raise the money, okay? Or right now what happens with the fundraising is the fundraising, like everything else, is done by a select few. That's the way it is, about 7% of the people. Unfortunately, the select few are getting smaller and smaller. So what I wanted to ask was, because this happens with graduation, and it is graduation expenses, if the board would consider as part of the budget, putting forward the thought of paying for it rather than the parents do it, okay? That's one thought. Or B, a possibility of basically a fee or due, okay, dues thing for the graduates. If you do the math, and even if you say, okay, 30% of the class can't pay, it comes out to $150 a kid, okay, for the parents that could. I quite frankly would give you $250 to put it in because I spent way more than that plus the time. And anybody involved with it actually does that. So my thing would be, one, to recognize and to help support this limit, the cap, the budget, formalize that. Two would be consider adding it to the budget or supporting, endorsing, if you will, a fee structure, which is, as far as I know, could only come from here to be able to do that. And how that works, we can talk about it. Or three, if none of those are okay, come up with a better idea than just fundraising, because the biggest lion's share of it is gone as far as being able to do it with the tournament. So that's really what it is. And the thing is, it'll also free up people so they can do things like the ABS, which is struggling. I talked to Matt Dwyer about that and several other people. Rem at the high school apparently is, again, what I've heard, he's struggling as the athletic director to get people to do things. I mean, people are just tapped out, okay? And so it's time and whatnot. So I'm asking you guys to kind of consider that, and that perhaps could free up other people to go do other things.
Thank you for that, and we will take that into consideration when we start to work on the budget. So
Yeah,
we appreciate your ideas. Thank you for bringing them
And
to us.
just so you know, too, thank you for having me and whatnot. If you get to the point where you'd like to have I've got some other people that were past parents that were involved in that, they'd be happy to be involved in the process, and several others. So,
Okay, great.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Lauren Parker?
Laurel Parker from Manchester. Thank you for allowing us all to speak every month. I was very happy not to have to speak last month. But I appreciate the mandates continuing to be supported for masking in schools, and I hope that continues tonight. Obviously, there is an intense surge going on currently with COVID, and our healthcare system, as I said last time, is at its breaking point, and I don't know how much longer it can continue. We need our kids to stay healthy, because if the kids get sick, they bring it home to their parents, who then can't work. And then I can't staff my emergency department or the rest of the hospital. So we need to continue to do whatever we can to keep our kids safe and keep our kids healthy. I'm still concerned on the school bus. Windows are not being opened consistently. I would like to know what our trigger will be to move to remote learning. I mean, we're looking at significant increases on a daily basis, our positivity rates, our hospitalizations. I think we do need to consider having an idea of when to pull that trigger, because we do need to keep the community safe. I appreciate that we, are trying to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. Can we get that back into the schools? Opportunity for boosters now for 12 plus. Opportunity for vaccinating the rest of our children who haven't yet been vaccinated. And thank you all for all you're doing. I know you guys are doing a lot behind the scenes every day, and I appreciate it. And this is, again, all about the safety of our children. The masks need to continue. I think that is very clear in my mind. And I think we need to encourage as much vaccination as possible. Please, everyone out there in the community, get vaccinated. If you're eligible, get boosted. Wear your mask. Keep distance. We need to continue this for now. Until a larger portion of the people are vaccinated, we're going to continue to have new mutations, new strains, and you just don't know which one is going to be more severe than the next. Maybe it's less severe, we don't know. But until we have a higher portion of people vaccinated, we're going to continue to have this problem of virus mutation. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel. Do we have anyone online that wants to speak? Did you ask for the town that he lives in?
Manchester.
Manchester? Okay.
Thanks for doing it.
Yep. Can Dean Rushlet, we're going to unmute you so you can participate in citizen comments. You're on.
So she.
James Patrick, we're going to unmute you so you can speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, there we got you. Yes.
It took about 8,000 tries at the unmute button. Okay, I just wanted to piggyback.
Introduce yourself. Could you just tell us your name and your town that you live in, please?
My name is Deanne Mushlet. I live in Manchester. I am the mom of 2 current Marana Cook High School students and 2 alumni. And I wanted to piggyback what Laurel said with the mask mandates. I'd like the board to vote to keep all the safety measures in place. The high school has seen cases of COVID just this week increase exponentially. Both my girls were notified today that they're both close contacts. They have several friends out with COVID. And if the measures are not kept in place, it's going to get worse. And I work for Maine Med, so I would be remiss if I didn't also put in the public piece that our healthcare system is ready to crash. And if the kids are sick, and they are getting sick with this, we have children right now in intensive care with COVID. They can't participate in school. We have kids arriving at school who are symptomatic. They have symptoms. They get tested, they get sent home. And there's supposed to be a screener in place. So if they can't meet us halfway, we have to have the measures in place to protect our kids. And I want to thank you for taking public comment again.
Thank you. Do we have another person, Diane? Oh, okay. Okay, additions or adjustments to the agenda by the Board of Superintendent. I know we do have one addition.
Yeah. So one addition to the agenda, it'll be item number 8L. It's the tabled motion from our December 1st meeting on sporting events. Director Kim Bowie made a motion to change the sporting policy on that evening to determine that students were allowed to attend and to allow 50% capacity. It was seconded by Mr. Dave Gilmay. So as a procedural thing, we need to get that off the table. So we needed to add that to the agenda as 8L tonight.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Anything else? Okay, so we have our reports. We had some really detailed, comprehensive reports in our packet. So thank you all for those reports. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add to those reports? Or does anyone have any questions about any of those reports? We also have when our next curriculum, facilities, and policy meetings will be taking place. So we'll move on to the action items. The first one, do I have a motion for approval of minutes of December 1st, 2021 meeting?
I move we approve minutes.
Second. Any discussion?
It was Betty. Betty seconded.
I don't think you can see her through the podium.
No discussion, all those in favor?
Oh, I gotta do roll call. I'm
Sorry.
sorry, everyone.
Roll call for the vote.
Kim,
Yes.
Dave, Gilman,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
thank you. Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
just checking if Melissa Tobin has come online. She has not. Okay, so I will skip her from here forward. Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yeah.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Okay. Next one is the acceptance of donations. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept donations as written.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion. We'll take the vote.
Kim,
Yes.
Dave Gilman,
Yeah.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yeah.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
So the next three items on the agenda are acceptance of resignation. So before we get to those, I just would like to think about our goals for the year for our board. Our second goal was to retain at least 90% of our staff. And we have 3 people here that are resigning. And my question, and Jay, you probably answer this, is are we doing exit interviews with people that have resigned and are we finding out why people are leaving?
So the short answer is yes, we always offer an exit interview. Most people actually take us up on exit interviews. They are done with Kate Taylor through Human Resources. And these particular people, I don't want to speak for them, but at least one, I would say 2 out of these 3 people are leaving public education because of the way public education is right now. So just trying to be very truthful about that. And I think it's sad when that happens, but I understand why they're doing it. The stress and pressure and anxiety has really affected people. So through this entire piece. So at least 2 out of 3 of these are leaving education altogether, just so you know. We're going into totally separate fields. So just so you know.
Patty?
Just a follow-up question about that exit interview process is, I know our goal is for this year, but is the data from exit interviews ever analyzed? Like, do we look for trends or things about that even in past years? Do you know, Jay?
Absolutely. So Kate does a really good job of, we usually do it like right before the hiring season so we can look at what do we need to address going forward for our new people that are coming in. And she basically scrubs the data so there's no identifying information because we want people in those exit interviews to be as honest with us as possible about what it would take to keep them here and to help them feel successful and valued while they're part of RSU38. So Kate absolutely does that. We usually do it right before kind of the hiring season for next year.
Thank you. So I guess I would just like us as a board to think about how we can support the administrators as they're working to keep staff and, you know, what are some things that we can do to help with that? Because it seems like just about every week we have somebody that's resigning.
Tyler, is it possible for us to get last year's data or a summary of last year's data?
Yeah, I can put that together. Obviously, it'll be scrubbed of names,
Right.
But certainly we can take a look at that and get something. I can bring it forward to you guys for the next business meeting if you'd like.
Thank you.
If that's the pleasure of everyone here, if they'd just like to see. Okay, we'll do that.
Okay. Patty?
I also wonder, and we don't have to get into this right now, but it would be good to maybe sometime, the you got to help me remember the name of that future vision committee group that met like a couple of years ago. Were we looking at the strategic plan?
Yeah.
Strategic plan. And we talked about this piece and had some really specific goals around it written into the strategic plan. So I wonder if we should look at that.
Yes, we actually have that as part of one of our goals is looking at teacher retention, actually entire staff retention for the district. So, but it is something that's on our administrators' minds. And, you know, what can we do to make people want to stay at RSU38 and be part of this wonderful district? So we know we can always get better. There's always things we can work to improve. So.
Okay, so moving on, do we have a motion for the first resignation?
I move that we accept the resignation of Principal Dwayne Conway.
Second.
Any discussion?
So we're looking for an interim principal to finish the year. We have a candidate that will be coming for a second interview on Monday of next week. And then depending on how that goes, potentially I could be bringing a name forward to you. It's an interim position. So in February, we will do a formal advertisement for a full-time principal. And in the month of March, we will do the big committee piece. Kathy and I also talked about trying to incorporate some new elements into those interviews so that we can get a candidate that will be dynamic and be able to help and move our high school forward. So just so you guys know, the interim is just to move as quick as we can, but we will do a formal where it will be a much bigger interview committee. We'll invite a whole bunch of people to be part of that so we can get a dynamic individual that can lead our high school. So just so you guys know.
Any other discussion? We'll do the roll call.
Roll call. Kim.
Yes.
Dave Gilman.
Yes.
Jade.
Yes.
Dane.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kelty.
Yes.
And David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, do I have a motion for the next resignation?
I move we accept the resignation of RES teacher Caitlin Mitchell.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll do the roll call.
Kim.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Jade.
Yes.
Dane.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Betty.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kelty.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Again, unanimous.
And the next resignation, is there a motion?
A motion to accept the resignation of Manchester Elementary School's teacher Jessica Gurney.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we have somebody posted for that position yet?
Yes, all of these positions have been were posted before we went on Christmas vacation. So, but I will be very honest in that the candidate pool is very small right now. So,
Okay, we'll do the roll call.
okay, Kim.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Jade.
Yes.
Dane.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes, with regret.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Betty.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kelty.
Yeah.
And David.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Yeah. So,
Quick suggestion,
These are hard.
if I can, Kathy.
go ahead.
I'm just wondering if, at the last meeting, the presentation with the charts and everything and kind of a synopsis of or how this all looks right now. And it was
a lot of doom and gloom kind of items. It was hard to see that. But staying solution focused and retention focused, have we even offered the ability for those suggestions on, it can be anonymous, like a suggestion box, but something where you really spill the tea on what it is you want to see change. Anonymous wouldn't be too nice. So we know what those highlighted parts would be, where we should focus and what's really kind of the hardest stuff. I don't know if that's happened yet. I mean, I'm sure people talk about it, but how do we tackle it? You know?
It's a really tough question that I don't think I really have an answer to at this point, because it's such a complex situation. And I think every resignation is a little bit different. I wish I could say it's one specific thing, but I think there's a lot, like I'll use a quick example. We had a bus driver just recently that we hired, has only been working for us for maybe 4 to 6 weeks, came to us, but now because there's so many open positions in busing, actually they were traveling 40 minutes to come to Maranacook each day to drive a bus for us. They found a position that was 15 minutes away from home. You can't blame them for that, that kind of makes sense. So that's just one example, but everything's a little bit different. And I think by bringing forth to you guys some of the exit interview information, that may be helpful to kind of start to sift through, kind of what's going on here and are there any real trends going on?
I just don't think we should wait only for the exit interviews though, because that's kind of like, oh, missed it. We should have done something about that sooner. So I just, if you guys ever want to write in, and honestly, I would love to see it. I don't know. You want to make sure our voices are heard.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Our administrators do a really good job of having a pretty good pulse on their staff members within their own buildings. And I know they have private conversations that we may not be privy to about some of those things, but our administrators are usually pretty in touch with, some of these situations like we're dealing with right now. So yeah, I give them credit. They do a lot of talking to their staff.
I probably should have said this when you said any discussion, one of the 3 times, but I didn't. The concern, the one concern that I have is, and I hate to bring doom and gloom, but the additional strain that this will put on the buildings that have a principal, obviously, but in addition to teachers, unfortunate and fortunate, 2 separate buildings, but all the people in those 2 buildings will be, or 3, I guess, will be significantly impacted too. I know we have hired, is that what I remember, some full-time subs, I think.
We had 7 positions. We got 4 hired as of today. So we're getting closer to solving at least a piece of the substitute problem. So
what size are the classes that these teachers are exiting from in terms of, will there be strain on the teachers to have to combine? How's that?
Yeah, we haven't gone down that road yet because we still have a little bit of time. But if we have to combine, it'll be a significant strain.
Yikes. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for asking that question because that is a realistic possibility. Diane? Jade, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jade.
Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand. I guess my thing is, I think that honestly, probably a lot of what we're seeing is people are exiting for burnout because they're tired in their positions that they're in. I think we're seeing it in all fields right now. And I don't know that there's really a whole lot we can necessarily do to prevent that. Unfortunately, and I think that's the sad part, is I don't think that there's a lot that we can do to change where people are at right now emotionally and mentally, as much as we wish that we could. And I think that it's only unfortunately going to get worse. Hopefully with the reduced, quarantine times and things along those lines, it might release some of that burden. But if we go remote, I unfortunately foresee that we're going to see more staff loss in the process.
Sean?
Sean?
Okay. Oh, I heard someone talk.
Sorry, I started saying something, but I forgot to raise my hand.
Yeah, I kind of want to echo what she said. I mean, it's not just teaching. I mean, today I was in a meeting about assistant district attorneys who are just walking off the job because the courts are so backed up, they're so overwhelmed. They're just throwing in the towel, so it isn't bad. And then also home health care, it's a huge problem. And so it's just compounding no matter where it is. And even in other industries, restaurant industries, I have a friend who owns 3 restaurants in Portland, and he's like, I'm waiting tables tonight because we have no employees, and people just get burnt out. It's a huge problem all around.
Kim?
I hate to bring this up, but since Sean did it first and mentioned remote, and everybody knows that I'm a huge proponent of people being in school. But do we know how the teachers feel about in-person versus remote learning and whether or not on a temporary basis there would be more or less strain one way or the other?
So there's a lot of anxiety in schools right now with the change in what the CDC and the main SOP is. There's a lot of people worried about extra exposures right now. And we do have climbing cases. We had between December 23 to now, we've had 15 just student cases at the high school. We've had 7 staff cases across the district. So it's definitely creeping up. And I know just at the high school level, I'll just use the high school level as an example, they're struggling just to contact trace to catch up to all of these. It's like they can't even get notifications out because another one's knocking on their door and they're giving tests and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a huge concern for me right now that those cases are climbing. And I don't think that's going to change over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I would say there's a lot of teacher stress, I guess, in the answer to your question.
Meaning that they would be less stressed if they would, or are you not in a position to be able to answer that question?
It's like anything else. Going remote there's pluses and minuses, pros and cons with it. So we're going to reach a tipping point. There's no doubt about that. And our tipping points at the elementary school have been staffing shortages is what's been our tipping point. So I'm very nervous right now about the whole situation across all our schools.
So there was a public comment and I'll just maybe ask it as well. So is there a point that we decide to go remote or where?
I usually have a conversation with like the principals of the building to see what the mood is, see what their staffing level is, talk to the nurses about the positive counts as well as the close contact counts. And that's usually what we look at. We'll kind of look at, okay, what are we looking at now? Is our percentage climbing? Is it going, what's going on here? So it's not, I usually try to have a team that we get together and have that conversation before we decide one way or the other. So it's hard to say. I don't really have a hard and fast number. A lot of it depends. A lot of it just depends.
Nothing is hard and fast these days. It's all up in the air.
Patty? I think that probably right now there is nothing that is more important than COVID-related issues and how that affects people's anxiety and morale and everything like that. In addition, I don't want us as a board to lose sight of some of the things we talked about at that strategic planning level and when we were setting our goals about staff retention, because I think that our district, like many, but we're just talking about ours, has had a long history of less and less trust between all of the parts, like between staff and administrators or with the board. And I think that some of the things that happened, and I'm thinking about things that were before you, Jay, or before the current administrators in every building. I just think that it's been a gradual erosion of trust that I think that has affected some of the morale issues. And I just, even though COVID is paramount, I just don't want to lose thinking about that either.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Patty, because I think that this was starting to happen before COVID started. So I think we do need to look at it beyond COVID. We know that COVID's causing all these problems everywhere. But I think we also need to look at what was happening even before then and address some of the things that have gone on in the past and how we want to make sure once we're out of COVID that we don't repeat some of those things and continue to lose people. Okay, the policies.
So we have some. Yeah, we did. We did. I thought we did Gateway and Metro. Yeah, we did Jessica. We did Jessica. We did Jessica.
Everyone was unanimous.
It was unanimous. I apologize.
That's okay. Okay, so we have some second readings for policies.
Yeah. So we need a motion for each individual one.
So is there a motion for GB?
I move that we approve GBGB policy, workplace bullying.
Second. Any discussion?
All right, Kim,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Ding,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Okay, what about a motion for IHBAC?
I move that we approve policy IHBAC, child find.
Second. Any discussion?
Kim,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Ding,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty.
Yes.
And David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
And the next one is JKAA. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept JKAA, use of physical restraint and seclusion.
Second.
Any discussion? Kim?
I'm just curious, and maybe it's a question for Ryan or whoever, how we were just talking about retention, whether or not this is good or bad for those that work with students that sometimes need to be restrained. Can they still, does it put them in more harm's way? I guess as someone who has subbed had felt that I needed to do some of these things, I'm curious how, if this is a good thing.
So it's definitely, and Ryan, you can please feel free to correct me if I misspeak here. It's definitely making things a little bit more challenging. And the change that we're making is due to the change in the law. That's why we're having to make these.
We don't have a choice,
but it does
right?
make it more challenging. Yeah. Ryan, do you? Sure. Yeah. You're good.
I'm good. Okay. Like Jay said, it is as a result of the change to the law, but I think the thing that goes into this is there are nuances to it. So there used to be more exclusions, or there were more clear exclusions in the law in terms of things that you could do that would make common sense in terms of helping a student, from the ground to their feet, helping them, escorting them down the hallway or things like that, with a, arm or hand to the shoulder so that they would move. And, sometimes you have kindergartners who might not want to come off the playground. It makes you have to think about things in a more nuanced way that is a little more challenging. So it does add another layer to it, but I know they are working through some changes or revisions to it, because right now that's just the statute and then the rules around it. It was kind of a tough process. That was done first, and then the rules weren't written at the same time. So DOE is writing the rules, but they're still in progress. And so really the implementation of it is still up in the air. And I think that's the hardest part, is you just don't know what the end outcome will be, because it doesn't kind of walk you through the step-by-step of what it would look like. But the rules, the way that they've been proposed right now, look more functional or favorable in terms of implementation. So, but
And is
they're
there-
not done yet.
Thank you. Is there education provided to, or is it necessary? I don't know, to those, to the staff, teachers, whoever
Yeah,
is going to be impacted by this?
there
How
are
does that
training
work?
videos that Drummond Woodsum has put together, and you know, they're in limbo a little bit right now because the rules still aren't written, and we do provide some added training. We have, you know, pretty much in every building we have staff that are safety care trained, and it's not just a special education statute. I want to put that out there too. It's a regular education statute, so it's for all students, all situations, which is why we try really hard to make sure that those staff that are trained in safety care are from general education and special education.
So my next question would be to you, Jay. We have to adopt this now, even though everything's still kind of up in the air. We don't have a choice, or can it be?
Yeah, so yes, the recommendation is we're actually behind a little bit in adopting this
We waited as
policy.
long as we could, and now we don't.
Right. Exactly. You got it.
All right, just check it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Good question. Okay, all right, so Kim.
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Jade.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dane.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Betty.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
And David.
Thank you, Kim, for your question. That was very helpful. Yes.
Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, so the next one is, do I have a motion for the approval of the CATC agreement?
Motion to accept the CATC agreement.
Second. Discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to ask the same question I ask every year. How many students is this based on our percentage, and how many can we have versus how many we actually have enrolled in CATC?
Very good question. So the seats are per program. We currently, and I'm shooting off the top of my head, I apologize. I'll get you the exact number, but I believe we're at somewhere around the 86 mark, if I remember correctly, for what we've currently got enrolled in the CATC programs. But I will double check and make sure I email that to you tomorrow.
Versus how many we can have enrolled?
Or
how many seats or whatever?
Yeah, we can have about 120, I believe, is our allotment.
And do we do anything to check with or educate students on what?
Yeah, so in the past, they would actually bring sophomores to visit CATC, but that hasn't happened in the last couple of years. And I think that has been a little bit of a hindrance because CATC kind of controls, Augusta controls that. But normally everyone is offered that and it's usually offered in their sophomore year, where they'll go tour CATC and they'll get information about the programs at CATC.
Can I ask if we could, in lieu of not being able to go there for obvious reasons, is there an opportunity where sophomores or whatever grade level could have an information session with students who are currently attending to talk about what their experience is like, and or I know that there are plenty who have graduated and gone on to have jobs, internships, so on and so forth, because of their CATC experience, and whether or not students could come back to speak to possibly interested students just to talk about that, to see if we might be able to.
I absolutely will check with the guidance department and see if they can help facilitate that for us, because I know they're heavily involved in promoting CATC. So I will definitely talk with both Kim and Sarah about that at the high school guidance office.
Betty?
We could also do, we might also be able to do a virtual tour or a virtual type of orientation in the springtime. That's just coming off of you. But my question is, has anything changed in this agreement since last year besides money?
Say that again, Betty. I didn't hear everything.
Has anything changed in this agreement since last year?
The only thing that changed is some language was cleaned up. And the other big change that's in here is the agreement CATSI right now is directly funded through the state. So CATSI they don't have an option to raise money if they need something new for their programs or whatnot, because they're pretty much locked in. So we did meet as a team to look over what it might look like if there was a need to raise some extra money. How would that work? What would that process look like? And that's on page 40 of 57. That's the cooperative cost sharing agreement. And that's an example. That would not be used until school year 2024, just so that you guys know. So CATSI's kind of agreed to not use that until at the earliest 2024, and they may never have to use it, but there was really no agreement in place anywhere. So that's the biggest change that you'll see. There are a couple other minor language changes for the most part.
But it didn't change
the basic content has not changed except for that cost sharing agreement.
Thank you. Tyler?
My other question is, because you talked about how CATSI, is there a way, I mean, I know this is more of a high school way, to make it easier for students to attend CATSI? I know while I was there, which was 2016 through 2018, it was very difficult if you were involved in AP classes,
yes,
if you were involved in foreign language, if you were involved in any of those programs to be able to access CATSI.
So it's funny you asked that, because I had a meeting with guidance on, I believe it was Tuesday, and that was the very conversation. As we're going to be looking at the course schedule, course loads, to see what we can do to facilitate an easier route to CATSI, where it won't conflict so much with, like, you have to make a choice here. We want to try to open as many doors as possible. So it's funny you brought that up, because we had that very conversation yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Sean?
I have no further questions. Okay, roll call vote. Kim?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jade?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Kelty?
Yes.
And David Twitch?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, do I have a motion for the recommendation of the curriculum committee's high school course proposals?
Motion to adopt course proposal for history and musical theater.
Second. Could you just repeat your motion?
Motion to approve course proposal for history of musical theater.
We need to mention the other ones if we're going to discuss.
Is there other ones?
There are other ones.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize there's another one. I thought it was one.
Repeat it, because I want to make sure they were all included.
Motion to approve all proposed courses.
Thank you.
I still second.
Clarify that. Any discussion?
The only reason I mentioned that is because I listened to the details on this at the curriculum committee. They're all very good. So I just want to make sure they all go through.
That's why I asked him again.
Yeah, you're like, excellent job to both Dan Gilbert and Carolyn Gross as well.
Yeah, just so you guys know, Dan came to the office today while I was up at the high school and just said, so do I need to be there for this? I was like, Dan, everyone loves you. You've got it. You've done a great job. You're going to be fine. So. Oh, okay. Kim?
Yes.
Dave Gilman?
Yes.
Jade?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Melissa? Oh, sorry, excuse me. Patty?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Kelty?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, what about a motion for the recommendation from the Facilities Transportation Committee to use bond funds for the work on the high school and middle school gym floors?
I move to approve the refinishing of the middle school and high school gym floors as recommended by the Facilities and Transportation Committee in the amount of $74,590. I can do that one because it's right there.
Second. Any discussion?
Just
Betty. Did you second Betty?
Just how much do we have left in the bond? And does this meet our original? We said it had to last for X number of years, which number I'm forgetting. Does it meet all those?
So it's
requirements?
15 years. The high school floor hasn't been done in, it's over 20, and the middle school one is 15 years old now. So they're both highly due for it, and it definitely meets the requirement of lasting 15 or more years.
Okay.
So, yeah. Oh, sorry. We had about we had about $180,000 in the bond left. Sorry, I missed that question. But we had about $180,000 left in the bond at this point. So.
After this, or pardon me,
Yeah.
after this or before this?
Before this. So this will lower that amount.
Any other discussion?
Okay, all right. Kim?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jade?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Kelty?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
Unanimous.
So do I have a motion for the bus bids?
Motion to accept.
Oh, hold on.
I motion to move to accept the highest bid for bus number 4 and bus number 9, and if not accepted by bidder, to offer the buses to the next highest bidders as recommended by the superintendent.
Second. Discussion?
That's good.
Have the roll.
Seconded was Rebecca, right? Yeah. Kim?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jade?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Kelty?
Yes.
And David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
And the next one is a motion to keep the health and safety procedure protocols as they are. Is there a motion for that?
I move that the RSU38 health and safety protocols remain unchanged through the month of January and be reviewed again in February at the Board of Directors business meeting.
Second.
Discussion?
What are other school districts doing about vaccine mandates? I know that's a touchy subject.
In terms of students or staff?
Students.
Students, we've had a couple of vaccine clinics that we offer for anyone that would like to participate. We've done them here at the high school, the middle school. We did it at Wayne, and I think that was it. I don't think we did the other schools, but did we have somebody besides Wayne? Wayne was our only elementary school, okay. It was at Wayne, sorry. But other schools were invited to come to that Wayne one if they wanted to. We help facilitate that. So we will look, as soon as we can get through this little process right now, we will look to try to hook up and get more vaccine clinics in the very near future, if at all possible. Northern Light is definitely very responsive if we reach out to them. So it'll just be kind of scheduling and
my next question is, are other districts looking at implementing a vaccine mandate for students?
That I have not heard of any district that's mandating for students, at least in Maine. I haven't heard of a single one at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not yet, but we have like a 90%.
So does anyone else have any discussion? Because I have a question. So when we say safety protocols remain unchanged, how does that take into consideration the new recommendations from the DOE?
Very good. So we follow, and that's what I sent out today, was we follow what they put through for us. So hold on, I'm going to pull that up. It'll just take a quick second. Oh, you got it right there. You got it right there. So what we'll do is we have to follow Maine State standard operating procedures. So they have incorporated their guidance from the Maine CD, or excuse me, from the CD, the national CDC is who they follow. So we incorporate their guidance. So for example, we're encouraging the screener again to look for their symptoms and make sure they communicate with their school nurse with any questions, any symptoms, anytime. Positive tests, they, if there's a positive test, the individual must isolate for 5 days. And the date of the confirmed test is day 0. So then you count out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then day 6 through 10, they ask you to wear the mask. If you develop symptoms, then you start day 0 is when you actually develop symptoms. So if you're asymptomatic, you know showing symptoms, and you hit day 4, and suddenly you have symptoms, then your clock starts again. So that's day 0, and you start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again, which again is how they work through it. We are also really trying to remind everyone that before, even before COVID, we really don't want students in school until we know they've been fever-free for 24 hours without the use of medication. So again, we included that as part of our letter. We also asked that if a student is positive, and as I think it was somebody mentioned earlier, we do have students that are coming to school positive. So we're really trying to get them back home as soon as we know they're positive. Within half an hour, we're trying to limit the spread in school. So we're really trying to encourage parents, no later than 30 minutes. Let's, come and pick up your child. And we know that's, they can do what they can do, but it helps keep the schools a whole lot safer. With contact tracing, this is the interesting one. You have basically 7 kind of exemptions. 1, 2, 3, 4 is about the booster. If you have, not boosters, vaccines, depending on where you are in that vaccine cycle, you don't have to quarantine, but you are being asked to wear a mask for 10 days. So you're not having to quarantine from school. You can continue to come to school and participate in school-based events. Number 5 is if you participate in pool testing, and number 6 is if the school has a mandatory masking policy. We have both pool testing and a masking policy. So that one asks for community quarantine only for 5 days, continue to wear a mask. But even in that time, the students are still allowed to participate in school-based activities. So extracurricular that is, run by the school at that point, but should be community quarantining for those first 5 days.
Does that mean they can come to school?
They absolutely can come to school. So, which is, it kind of is a game changer, but it also is one of those things that makes people nervous as well. So masking and participating in pool testing is important so that we can get a handle on what we've got for actual cases within the school. It's really important. A few people have said, well, do I need to pool test? Should I participate in pool testing? Again, it's another layer of protection to be able to identify cases early and remove them so our schools can stay open. And then, of course, if you don't fit in 1 through 6, number 7 is you have to quarantine for 5 days, and that would mean they would have to be out of school for 5 days. But honestly, all of our students fit between 1 and 6 right now. So as far as close contacts go, they don't need to quarantine. And that means more students at school with that. You want me to keep going, Kathy?
No, this is good. It just that what you just said feels to me like there's changes.
Yes.
And the motion just said to remain unchanged. Sorry. So that's just where I'm at. So
And just,
can I amend?
there's no, they're not counting school buses anymore as well.
Right. No close contacts on school buses.
So essentially there's no close contacts.
Right.
Unless you're,
right.
If you're positive, then you're out of school.
Right. But we will notify like the student's family so they know they've been exposed. So, So I don't want people to think we're not doing close contact tracing, because we are, but there's no quarantine involved. We just notify the families so the families can then make their choices in terms of monitoring their child going forward. Because they are recommending a test at 5 days, I believe it is.
Yes, it is.
After exposure. Oh,
Jade?
Oh, go ahead, Jade.
So I have, well, I guess a couple of questions. So my questions would be if there's a community close contact. So, well, I guess right now my kiddo actually tested positive down here in Florida. We came to help my mom and we've now come down with COVID. But so in that case, it's a community close contact and not a school close contact. So if the kids, for say, are unvaccinated, would they still be allowed to go to school even though they're close contact and asymptomatic? And then the other question is in regards to sports. So they're still allowed to participate in sports if they're unvaccinated and considered to be close contacts. And are we looking at a bunch of schools pulling out of doing sports currently? Because I've heard in the rec leagues that there's some schools pulling out right now.
So the answer to both of your questions is yes. And at this point, Brant had a meeting this morning and I checked with him after he came back this afternoon. And right now, our leagues in our areas are running kind of as close to normal as possible. Could that change with spiking cases? Obviously, there's definitely the possibility of that. But as far as our like KBA league, KBAC league, and the schools that we typically play, they're still running as normal at this point. Unless I know a few schools, there have been games canceled because of positive student athletes, and those games have been rescheduled. So, yeah, but nobody pulling out of a league altogether, pulling out of their schedule, at least at this point.
Patty?
So I never can remember how we do this if there's already a motion on the floor, but it seems like we need to undo the current motion and say something like, I don't have that paper right in front of me, but yeah, we need to amend the motion to say reflect the current CDC guidelines or whatever, right?
Yeah, that would be the exact language, I think, would be to move that the health and safety protocols.
So can I
mirror? You want to amend the motion?
Can I move to make an amendment, or do we have to do something with the thing that's already?
You make the amendment. You can move to make.
I move that we amend what we said before to reflect the changes in the CDC guidelines.
Second.
Betty. Okay, so yep. We're voting on the amendment.
Can I just?
Any discussion on the amendment? Or
well,
whatever?
whatever. One last discussion about the topic. How about? So if I'm understanding correctly, these new guidelines may be making some people more uncomfortable because they're fearful of more close contacts. But on the flip side, there won't be as many students out of school, so they won't be creating as many at-home educational materials.
Exactly.
Okay.
So on the last page, I didn't have all the numbers when I put this report together. So on the very last page, I just wanted to give you the current pooled testing information by schools. So Manchester Elementary School has 60 students participating out of 178. So that's 33.7% participation rate. Mount Vernon has 30 and they will be starting up shortly, but they have 30 signed up out of 85 for 35.2% participation. Reedfield Elementary has 76 out of 197, which is 38.5% participation. I do not have Wayne's numbers at this point, but we will get them. Middle school is 97 students out of 304 for 31.9%. And at the high school, we had 46 students out of 366 for only 12.5% participation at the high school level. So I just wanted to give you those. And as soon as I have Wayne, I will kick that out to you guys as well. We have a new nurse that started this week, so she's trying to catch up to speed, and she works between both Mount Vernon and Wayne. So so she needs a little time to catch up to everything. So
Any other discussion? David?
A question on that probably should already know. So if someone's a close contact or whatever, and they're not participating in the COVID, what's the result for them as opposed to someone that was in the pool testing?
In the pool testing, it's just another layer of protection. We get an accurate read on how many cases we have in the school. That's really what it is.
Okay, so a child that isn't participating has no different result.
No different, yeah, exactly, than someone that is pool testing.
As long as we continue with the mask mandate.
Right.
Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
Okay. Kim?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jade?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Kelty?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
And that is unanimous.
Okay, the next one is a motion on the table motion from our last meeting about the spectators at sporting events. There.
So, so the motion is on the table. So just opening up to discussion, that's exactly what we're doing right now is we have 50% capacity at both the middle school and high school. And I'll just share our biggest turnout was actually last night at the high school against Coney, and we still weren't even at 50%. But we did have students there. We did have community members there. So it's working really well right now. And Brant is very pleased with everything as well. So. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. So they accepted the amendment. Now they need to vote for the
original. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We have to go back to the other motion.
Sorry, apologize.
I knew there was something we had to do with that original motion about the safety protocols. We have to go back to that one.
So we're voting on it with the amendment as amended, right? As amended. As amended. Does that make sense to everyone?
Didn't we just vote on it?
Yeah.
We voted on.
Well, we voted on accepting the amendment. Now we've got to vote on
accepting the motion.
Right.
As amended.
As amended, right. Yeah. Sorry, it's a procedural.
Thank you, Donna.
All right. Okay, you want me to run through again? Yes. Okay, here we go again. Sorry, everyone. Kim?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Jade?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Kelty?
Yes.
And David?
Yes.
And we are unanimous.
Okay.
Now
we'll go to the table.
Right, now to the table motion. So we're running at 50% capacity. It's going really well right now. We do have students participating more so at the high school than the middle school. At the middle school, mostly it's families that are coming to watch the games. So so the motion is exactly what we're doing. So yeah.
So do we want to move forward with the motion? Do we want to rescind the motion? What do we want to do?
It's Kim's motion.
Right.
So she would have to be the one to rescind it.
So I was looking at you, Kim.
Since we already are at 50% capacity, I will rescind the motion of what come before.
Yeah, that's all we have to do.
Okay. Thank you. Motion rescinded.
Yeah.
Okay. Now do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I move we go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA section 4056A, evaluation of Superintendent James Charette.
Second. Any discussion?
Can we have a 2-minute break?
We'll take a few minutes break. Yeah, I gotta get ready for.
I gotta get some green tea.
But let me vote first. I mean, let me ask for the vote. Do we have to vote? Yes.
No, you have to explain to the people online that they're being moved to a room, and don't you?
We haven't voted to go into.
Donna, we have to vote, don't we?
Yeah, we need to vote, board members, we need to vote to go into executive session. Rebecca, Betty, Rebecca. Betty.
Melissa and Betty, please report to your podium. Melissa and Betty, report to your podium.
We need to vote to go into executive session.
So Kim.
Yes.
Dave. Yes. Jade.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca. Betty. Sean. Okay. Kelty.
Yes.
And Dave Twitchell.
Yes,
Okay, so.
I think Sean just abstained.
So, now for the viewers online, we are going to put you in a waiting room during the executive session.
No problem.
As soon as the executive session is over, then you will be moved back into the main meeting room at this time. So as over the course of the next couple of minutes, you will be moved into a waiting room. And then when the executive session is over, we will bring you back in for any actions that need to be taken after the executive session. Thank you.
Okay, so we're out of executive session now. Do I have a motion following the discussion?
I move we give Jay a 3% increase.
No.
What? Oh, 5%. I'm sorry. I move we give Jay a 5% increase in his contract for the 2022-23 school year and extend his contract by 1 year.
Second.
Rebecca. Any discussion? Sean?
I just publicly want to thank you for all your hard work, Jay, and all you've done to, I know it hasn't been easy, but you've done it and you've had some of your own challenges, and I just want to thank you for sticking with it, because there are a lot of folks in the public sector moving on to other things. So I just want to thank you on behalf of my family and my children. So thank you. Thank you.
I echo that.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Did you want to stand up? Well,
No.
Take him out.
Did you want to do the roll?
No, you can do the roll. Okay, I'll do the roll. Okay. So here's the vote. So Kim.
Yes.
Dave.
Huge yes.
Jade.
Yes.
Dane.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Absolutely, yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Sean.
Yes.
Kelty.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
So it was unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope you're feeling our love.
So, is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion to enter executive session pursuant to 1 MSRA 4056D, labor contract discussions between RSU38 Board of Directors and the Miranda Cook Area Staff Association.
Second.
All set? Kim.
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Jade.
Yes.
Dane.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Sean. Yes. Kelty.
Yeah.
And David.
Yes.
Again, unanimous. So for anyone who's in the waiting room, in the session, we will put you in a waiting room. And as soon as the executive session is over, we will invite you back in.
It's getting very late. We're all getting a little punchy. So we apologize to the public for our punchiness.
So I've asked before Bill and
Do you have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor of adjourning?
unanimous.
Unanimous. We're adjourned.